Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Blasey, and as always, I'm just going to throw this out there, I've got the best co-host in podcasting. I'm going to at least say hunting outdoor podcast. Justin Fabian is on the other line as always. He wasn't here last week, but he is
not
here
as
today,
always.
So.
Yeah, I was having a moment last week. I know your dad was on, and I'm sorry I missed that, but we were supposed to go to Montana. And I say supposed to because it didn't end up happening. So I was having a little bit of a temper tantrum about it, and I was just like, it ruined my day. And I was just like, I was kind of pissed off, and I was like, whatever.
But I had no idea. I thought you were still in Montana. You and I did not talk or nothing.
No,
I'm like,
I know.
And then I text you a couple days afterwards. I'm like, how'd Montana go? And you're like, well, we didn't get to go. And I'm like, oh shit, because my dad he was like fully expecting you to be there, and he's like, I want to give him some shit. So I told my dad we're gonna have to have him back on, and you got to be there. You have to make the next one that we have him on. So.
All right. Well, as long as it's not August 15th, because I think I've mentioned it in the recent past about how many tags I applied for, and lo and behold, I drew every single one of them.
We're going to get into it with this interview with Josh, but I'm going to tell you, you are the luckiest guy I think I know, probably. I mean, you apply for 37 tags, you get 37 tags, I feel like.
Man, I think if any time I should have applied for something bigger, I should have done it this year, but I drew...
Yukon Moose, you should have went with it.
I know, I should have. That was my plan for the last 2 years, and I never do it, but... I drew all the deer tags, I should say. I did put in for, like, mountain goat and bison and bighorn sheep and all that crazy shit. But I drew deer tags for Utah, New Mexico, and South Dakota. And the South Dakota is statewide, any deer, mule deer or whitetail. Utah and New Mexico are both mule deer. So I've got
South
3.
Dakota, you can kill either whitetail or mule deer.
Yep, on either side of the river, anywhere statewide.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
So
are you going to go all public land? Are you going to do any outfitters, or what are you doing? I'm
doing an outfitter in New Mexico. I applied to New Mexico with an outfitter. You have better odds, and honestly, I've filmed out there with this guy before, and I've just kind of maintained a relationship with him over the years through social media and just kind of busting each other's balls, throughout that time. And that's just how it goes. And he's like, yeah, come on out. Like, if you draw, we'll send you the contract. If not, no harm done. I was like, all right, yeah, we'll do it. Put me in for archery mule deer in January. And
you drew it.
I'm the only one that put in with him for that drew the tag. So it's just him and I who have... Me and the outfitter have archery mule deer tags for...
Oh, that'll be nice. So you'll have run-of-the-mill, though. Prime
mule deer run-of-the-mill. I mean, it's all BLM land that he hunts on, he operates on, but to have him as a resource in his guides and be the first ones in there with bows in January, like, dude, and not only that, like, the reason I decided I wanted to go with an outfitter, and specifically this one, is he has killed more mountain lions in the state than anybody else, statewide. So he has been killing all the predators out there. And I know firsthand from other people who've elk hunted out there, they've seen bigger mule deer the last 2 years than they've seen in the last 9 that they've been elk hunting out there. So there's
you're gonna kill a giant, dude.
Crop
That's
of
with a
mule
bow
deer out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to kill a giant. That's going to be sweet.
I hope so. It's one-on-one, just us, and there's nobody else. Unless he has lion hunters out there at that time, but we're the only ones hunting deer.
Yep.
So.
Did you put in for Kansas this year?
No, I didn't end up doing it. I kind of went back and forth throughout the day. I went down to the deadline, and then I woke up the next day, and I was like, son of a bitch, I never decided.
I remember us talking about it.
I know. I wanted to, and I mean, I don't know. In hindsight, I'm kind of glad I didn't, but I don't know. It's another $500, and I'm still unemployed, so I guess that's that's a good thing. I didn't spend that money, but I also drew that, having gotten New Mexico, there's a substantial out-of-pocket cost for that. So I'm not disappointed. I have 2 tags for Iowa, and I'll do Wisconsin again with Cooper. So I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, that's a good slate, though. I mean, right now, for me, I've got obviously Michigan, and then I put in for Kansas gun to get a firearm tag, which we're recording this intro on the 21st of May. Today was the drawing, or the results came out.
Yep.
And when I went in to look, all of us, like Chris Casey, Lee, Adam, all those guys, and it just says entered. So I don't know if they've actually drawn ours yet, but I do have some buddies that did pull their archery tags. So the guys that went down and did the public land last year, they all drew this year for archery. So I'm going to guess probably by the time this podcast goes live, I should know if I was successful or not. So as of right now, it's only Michigan, but I did apply for Kansas, and I've got a pretty good bead on Northern Indiana right now. The only hiccup that I could see that being is just not having enough time to be able to go hunt. Because Casey and I obviously, attached at the hip, so wherever he goes. But we are looking at possibly new farms in Illinois or Missouri, so I could possibly be pulling a tag with him, if he goes either there or Ohio. So we'll see. It's kind of up in the air. We'll do a podcast. We usually always do one about, our hunts when they're in stone, like what we're going to do this year. Yep. I wanted to get to Wisconsin, but this year I'm just not going to be able to. It's going to happen. I mean, I got a couple guys reached out to me and said, hey, if you want to hunt Wisconsin, like, let me know. We'll get you set up. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate it. You guys know who you are. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if Kansas comes through. That'd be cool because I'm not going to lie. I haven't toted a rifle in a while. Long time. Every late season I kill a doe or one or two for meat around here. But other than that, like to actually go out and kill a buck and have like deer camp, I haven't been able to do that yet. So I'm hoping that I pull that tag. That's going to be a fun week for sure.
I would hope you guys gravitate towards Missouri over Illinois. Although I know you have some serious history in Illinois, but Missouri is, if you get the right place, like in northern Missouri, I mean, it's one of the few quality whitetail states left that has over-the-counter archery and rifle tags for non-residents. And their rifle season starts like at the absolute peak of the rut, like November 12th or something like that, 11th. $200 for a non-resident rifle over the counter.
Yep. And that's the biggest difference between Illinois and Missouri to me is the tag price, because in Illinois you can kill a buck with your bow and a gun. So you can kill $2 there as a non-resident, which you're all right. Casey and I have had unbelievable luck in Illinois killing giant 2 booners we've killed there. But Missouri, I've killed some good bucks there with my bow, and I love northern Missouri. Love it too. Like, I totally agree with you. So we'll see. I mean, we're actually looking at somewhere in that central to northern part of Missouri, somewhere in there, or in Illinois. I mean, I guess anywhere the right farm comes up in those 2 states, we're going to try to jump on that, but we'll see. I mean, a lot could happen. This COVID thing's going on. Who knows if we're even going to be able to get a new farm. Yeah,
and listen, I'll take this for what it is, and I mean we can roll it around with the Redbeards, but if you guys would be interested, if you end up in northern Missouri, I would pitch in on that. Have somebody close to maintain it, check cameras, do some recon while you guys, run the season or figure out what to do. Just be a little closer, and might open up some doors for me to hunt a little more too. That'd be nice.
Yeah, for sure. And that might be one of those things too where depending on your job situation in the fall, we might need a freelance guy. Yeah. So that might be a possibility for sure as well if you want to jump on that.
Yeah, I'm selfishly holding out for that. Like I'm I want to stay in the freelance game. I don't want a real job again. But it's one of those things. Time may, I don't know. The time versus bank account. Wages, yep.
Definitely. And the bank account goes down a lot faster, I feel like.
Yeah, especially with all those hunts that I have on the book.
Yep.
But
well, cool, man. I know everybody's turning us off right now. We haven't even got to the interview yet with Josh, so let's get over to that. Today we are recording with Josh Profitt. We did actually record with him back on episode 18, so really new to the podcast. He hasn't been on in almost 2 years, so this is an awesome podcast. Hopefully everybody enjoys it. Don't forget, we do have some codes over at IamHumanimal.com. Go redeem those codes and save some money on some cool gear. So appreciate it, and let's jump over to this interview with Josh. Well, Josh, we're recording, just so you know. We're just gonna run this thing, man. I'm just gonna kind of get into it right here, and I guess we're back. Another episode of the Fall Podcast, and got a return guest on, Josh Profitt, coming from the Bluegrass State of Kentucky. You were on just about 2 years ago. You were one of the first episodes, I think, number 18 you were on. And
roughly something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was before Justin. So Justin came on shortly after that. So now he's here. So I'm excited, man. We've been kind of talking, the last couple weeks. I'm excited to get you on here and bullshit a little bit and see what you've been up to, catch up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely ready to cut it up. I think the three of us are definitely going to have a good time on here, especially now that I know we got somebody from Iowa on the
line. We should just flip the script and just give him shit the whole time.
Yeah.
Hey, you can do that, but I'm coming back at you for every y'all and any other thing I want to point out.
I will agree. You guys are in the South, and y'all everybody up here, I've got buddies that say y'all, and I'm like, I just want to be like, you kind of can't say that. Like, it's just it's not your thing. You've never really been to the South. Like, you just can't say it. What's your take on that, Josh? From you hearing a northern person saying y'all.
That's normal. That's normal to me, but I don't even think y'all sell sweet tea in Michigan.
Well, sweet tea's bad for you. You got to go unsweet.
Okay, Mr. Mountain Dew.
Hey.
I was somewhere up north, and I asked for sweet tea, and I promise they looked at me like I was crazy. I can't remember if it was Wisconsin or Michigan, but it was somewhere up there.
They probably did look at you weird, because I don't really know of anybody around here that drinks sweet tea.
Yeah, they brought you a Nest tea and a Sweet and Low packet, I'm sure.
Yeah, so y'all and sweet tea go hand in hand. It's kind of like your right hand in a Busch Light or something.
Hey, wow, you just read my mind, because I've got a Busch Light in my right hand right now, and it's
you got the new can.
I do, for the farmers right here, man.
There
it's
you
the
go.
corn. They taste so much better out of this can for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know.
See, it's no coincidence that they come out at the same time as that new Yeti 24, the Roadie 24. You could fit way more in there, and
yep,
new looks all around.
Yeah, I like it. I've had a few of them today, and I've got 3 of them here. I figured this was going to be about a 3-beer podcast, so we'll see where it ends us here.
I figured we'd just be getting started on 3. You're not drinking them fast enough.
I guess I'm not. Jeez, I need to start pounding these things, get on your level. You've been gone all day today, though. You've been driving basically all day, like running your 8,000 trail cams that you run. I still don't understand your system and how you keep track of every damn camera that you have. Literally, how many cameras are you running now?
70.
That's it? I thought you were like 100 and something.
It's between me and a couple buddies, it was at that, but I personally have 70.
Jesus, man, that is so many trail cams.
It really is. It's a lot of intel.
You got your sweet tea in the igloo water cooler from the soccer team while you're riding around.
Oh my gosh.
Today has been rough, man. I set my alarm for 4:30. I walked out the door at 5. I had about a 2.5 hour drive to where I was going. Man, haven't walked very much. I walked about 8.5 miles today. I'm sorry, 7.5 miles, but man, it just hasn't been going good for me.
Were you putting cameras out today, or were you like first pull of the year kind of thing?
So I had an Exodus render, which is Exodus cell camera. I had one of those down south on a big piece of public, and then two regular cameras. I went and grabbed those. I needed to pull them. They were there from last year, and come back home to a new piece, 11,500 acre piece, and I got that cell camera out, and that pretty much took me to about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So it's about a 12-hour day for me.
I gotcha. So was that today, and are you doing the same thing tomorrow, or are you pretty much done for a little while?
I think I'm going to be done for a little bit. Like during this pandemic, it's really put a toll on my work. So right now I'm working 2 weeks and I'm furloughed 2 weeks. So I've never had this much time to be in the woods. So I kind of don't know what to do with myself.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, I've been burning it up, turkey season. I got to hunt a few different states, and I got my cameras out a month early. I'm starting to get them out a month early. So, I mean, it's looking good. I hope this lasts the rest of the year for me.
Yep. Have you been seeing any bucks showing yet? We've got a couple around here. I've seen probably the biggest one's probably been 3-inch, bait, or not around circumference, but tall off his head. Probably about the biggest I've seen so far.
I have not. I did see 2 bucks today. They were both really young bucks. I'm almost positive they were 1.5-year-old bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But all I've seen is pretty much what everybody else is seeing, what people are posting, I did see one deer on the ground that was already about out to his ears, so I was very impressed with that.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's the only deer that I've seen that's looked like that. But no, to answer your question, I really haven't.
Justin, I haven't even asked you that question. Have you been seeing anything out there in Iowa?
Not in downtown Des Moines. No.
I think he's sandbagging us. I bet he's already got a couple 120s on camera.
He probably does. I'm not gonna lie to you. He plays a smooth hand of Dick the dog, so he makes everybody think that, and then he just goes out and smacks one on the ground with his bow, cell film, perfect footage. It just happens every year, I feel like.
I don't know what to say. Sunshine, dog's ass, how that goes.
Oh, man. But so I'm sorry, what? Go ahead.
I was just going to say I listened to a podcast of y'all's today, and it was one y'all did with Byron, and I guess I brought me up to speed on the 2-year anniversary roughly and the most recent turkey hunt with no camera.
He did. He ditched the camera. Can you believe that? A guy that is so dedicated goes out and says, fuck the camera, and he just goes and kills a bird. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I need to get Josh's thoughts.
Oh, man. I've been there. It's the best feeling ever just to throw the camera in the truck and take off. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. I was just like, wife slept in, and I was like, I'm just going to hunt. I'm done screwing around.
Yep. No, as much shit as I give you, I agree. I mean, I've done it before on deer, but you feel so bad after you kill something, and you're like, mother crapper, like I should have had a camera with me,
Yeah, I felt a little guilty, but at the same time, walking out of there with just a shotgun and a turkey on my shoulder, not a tripod, 2 cameras, pockets full of batteries, microphone. I was like, I can get used to this again.
Yeah, that's when you go into kill mode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, instincts just take over.
Definitely.
Josh, are you still filming?
Man, not really. I mean, I have everything to do it with, but it's just my time is so limited, and both of y'all know what it takes. And, nothing's changed for me. I still got 4 days a month, just like it was last time I did a podcast with you. That's all I got. And I would just rather hunt than film. I mean, I really would. I mean, I have a camera. I still take pictures, but I'm not filming anything.
Dude, you got some solid images. I like looking at your images. You're doing a good job with that, man. I'm impressed.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like that. And so the 4-day-a-month deal, I forgot about that. Like, you literally only get 4 days a month. Now, do you know what 4 days those are going to be? Like, or is it just one of those things like the week of you'll know then, or is it you just know going into, let's say October?
No, so I get all of my kids every other weekend. So that's pretty much my family time.
Yep.
And then, so, on, the off weekend is normally when I try to typically spend my time in the woods, and that's spent scouting, running cameras, and hunting. I got to do all those. I got to crunch all those down in 4 days. So.
Yep. How was your season last year? I didn't even end up, getting with you or catching up at all on that. How did whitetail season end up for you?
Okay, so I have a couple videos out. I need to shoot you a link from Exodus. They come in. They filmed. We filmed like kind of like an August pre-hunt camera run, and then we filmed a Whitetail Cribs episode. But,
I saw that.
If you didn't know, basically every deer that I knew of last year died from EHD. I found 2 booners in a week, a 174 and a 191.
Holy shit!
My number 2 target bucks I found
just
both
babies.
of them.
Yeah. Coming from the Iowa guy.
Yeah. So my 19 season was my worst season for killing that I've ever had. It was honestly kind of stressful.
How many deer did you find from EHD then? How many shooter bucks did you have that were on the hit list?
My hit where I hunt at that particular WMA, I only hunt public, and normally about middle to the latter part of October is when my hit list is normally 3/4 of the way full. So, I normally don't have all of my bucks until then, but I don't know. I'm going to say, let's just say I had 15 shooters last year, and I'm going to say that I lost 13 of them, just throwing a number out there.
Holy cow. And that was all the EHD?
Yeah, I found 21 in 2 weeks, not even looking for them, just trying to check my cameras.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was so bad down there.
It was real isolated in the area I was, and literally I'm not exaggerating when I say this. The woods smelled like death. Like you could open your truck in the parking lot, and it didn't no matter where you went, you smelled dead deer.
Wow.
Man, it's Aaron, actually, quick offshoot of that. Remember, actually, when I first met you down in Texas at Dean's in Sonora, when you were filming with Haley and Gio?
Yep.
So that ranch that we hunted on, the place I used to work at, when I was down there in March, I stopped in to see those guys, and it was last year, but that entire place is wiped out of whitetails. I don't know if you know this, but anthrax exists naturally in the ground, and you have to have like these perfect conditions for it to come out of the ground. It's a spore, like a mold, and it killed all their cattle, a bunch of their sheep, and like 95% of all their whitetails.
Anthrax?
On that anthrax, yep.
How does that, what are those conditions? Do you know what those conditions are?
Yeah, it's regional, so like it is isolated, like in this little triangle portion of Texas, like a 90-mile area. But you need to have like extremely arid summers, so super hot, really dry, no rain, and then all of a sudden like flooding conditions in the spring, like just lots of rain. It's got to go from one extreme to the other, from dry to wet, and it just surfaces out of the ground.
Holy shit. I mean, what do you do?
I mean,
what do you do when your herd is decimated?
Yeah, and that's exactly where they're at with it. And he's like, man, he's surviving on axis hunts down there right now. But when you just said, Josh, when you said walking around, the woods smelled like death. Like he said the same thing. Like his sister got engaged. They were on the ranch doing engagement photos, and they couldn't stand it. The smell was so bad. I mean, there was 3 dead bulls in a water tank, like they call them tanks. It's like a little pond, a little watering pond. But 3 dead bulls there, other bulls that were found dead in the shade. Of course, hogs survived, but all the deer gone.
And that's his livelihood. I mean, he's an outfitter,
Yeah, and now to come into the next season and deal with COVID-19 and shutdowns and quarantine restrictions and travel bans, and it's like I don't know how he's doing it, but
wow.
You can hunt axis deer all year long, and you can find them hardhorn and velvet twice a year. So that's lucky
crazy.
There.
That's crazy, Josh. When you were finding all those deer, I mean, what was your thought process? Like, shit, like, I mean, were you finding a majority of bucks, or was it, I mean, everything?
Everything. A lot of older deer.
Yeah.
If I could break it down to you this easy, like my hit list normally consists of between 40 and 50 deer a year. That's a solid Pope and Young. Last year on that particular piece of property, I may have had 5 total.
Wow.
Which I normally have that on a lot of my cameras, just, one general area. And it was just devastating, man. I had all of my eggs in, one basket on that piece of property. It was almost 6,000 acres. And that happened in September, right when season come in. So it literally put me at a scramble all season long. And I could not make my ends meet, man. I struggled.
Did you know, or did anybody around know that, EHD was hitting, or was it one of those things that just kind of like showed up and it was a surprise to everybody?
It was a surprise. So I have, some good friends in that general area, and then we literally all started finding them at the exact same time. And it was just in that part of the county, I mean, it just wiped them out. It killed them. My honest opinion, it at least killed 70% of the herd.
Holy shit.
That's
just judging by what my cameras have told me since 2016. I'm talking that this piece of property, I've had 6 booners on it in 1 year on camera. And, come November last year, I didn't have 4 130s. So it was devastating, man.
So did you have anything make it through on camera? I know you run a lot of cameras all year, so when you went and pulled those cameras after season just to kind of get a little recon or, figure out what made it through, did you get any decent young deer or even mature deer that made it through at all?
2 or 3. That's it. Now, I hadn't had all my cameras out, okay? I may have had, let's just say, roughly 25 out.
Yeah.
But I started pulling them because they weren't doing me any good, and I was leaving my ones in my go-to spots. So I was leaving them for the rest of the season, the ones that always produce the most. But like I pulled 2 cameras this week that have been out, have not been checked since last September. They were both in primo spots. Both of them have been in areas that produce Boone and Crockett deer. Both cameras still had battery life when I checked them. They were not dead. One camera didn't have but 1 year and a half old buck on it all season. Another one had a couple young bucks and one solid mid 130s. I couldn't tell how old he looked, but that was it. So one shooter between those 2 cameras that were out all season.
Wow. And you were saying those are your two of your best spots.
They were two good spots. It's bad enough that I won't hunt there next year. I didn't hunt there after September. After the first couple weekends, I knew enough. I'd already seen enough. So I pulled out.
Holy crap. So, I mean, what's your game plan going in? Like, obviously right now, we're end of May, going into June here, and I'm going to start getting my cameras out here shortly. I mean, like, quick. I like to get my cameras out here Memorial Day, like, around there, and, or in June sometime. Like, what's your game plan if you're thinking 70% of your herd is gone in that area, I mean, are you pulling out of that area altogether? Or are you still going to, grind it out and see if you can find something?
So I'm going to say 5 to 8 cameras in just high quality spots on that particular WMA. But between that happening last year and me scrambling, the WMAs around my house that I used to hunt, other than this one, are quota hunts now. So you only get drawed every other year. So I could not hunt them last year. And to be honest with you, like, I like to hunt these public parcels like they're my own. I treat the deer like they're mine. I just hunt it like it's my own piece of property. And then so I kind of wanted to stay away from them because I didn't want to mess with the every other year hunting. And so that really didn't leave me many options. So it pushed me last year about 2.5 hours south to a great big, almost a 200,000 acre chunk of public. And the deer density was real low, but the quality of bucks as far as the rack was there. I had one 200-inch deer on camera, one other booner, but that big woods hunting, I could not put it together in a few short weeks. I couldn't do it, not even in the luck of November. So rolling into this year, I have found a piece that I've known about for a long time. It's really weird. It's a coal mine property that does a surface operation. So basically they strip the timber, or they cut the timber really hard, and then they mine it, and then they come back in, they put topsoil on, they replant it in like WRP or CRP, and then, whatever trees they want. So there's 11,500 acres just right outside of town that is, you pay a trespasser's fee to hunt, and it's ran under statewide regulation. So it's not ran by the state, but it's more or less public hunting. I mean, you pay a small fee to hunt there.
Yep. Kind of like a lease, really. I mean, right?
Yeah, a lease, but I mean, you're in on it with everybody.
Yep.
You can't pick your partners. I think there's 200 permits, 200 to 220 is what he told me he's going to sell. I think the bow hunting's going to be good if I can get on the deer. I think it's going to be horrible during rifle season.
I was going to say, is it going to be open to gun season, or is it just strictly archery?
No, it's under statewide regulation, so pretty much all the rut will be gun hunted there.
Man, so when you mean strip it, do you mean like they mow it down, like every tree gone?
Completely.
Okay.
So if there's 500 acres of woods there and they want to mine it, they completely take it. It's all gone. And then they'll just put topsoil back and then replant it and, WRP, put some trees here and there. So a lot of the places that I've been running around, like, I can't even get a tree. I can't even get a stand in a tree.
That's crazy. You need to go just straight Apache, though. I mean, you're already trad. Just start.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to shoot one with the slingshot this year. I gotta check the rules and regulations.
You would, man. I feel like you would be that guy that would actually tote a slingshot and get out there and just try to arrow one with a slingshot. I'd watch it. I'd tune in for sure.
I do feel pretty good about it. I cut some big tracks today. I've always said that's one thing a deer can't hide is like his foot track. It's like a signature. And I did cut some big tracks today. I know that they do kill some nice deer on that property, but I'm used to hill country. That's what I like to hunt. I like to hunt big woods with ag here and there and a lot of topography. You can just predict the deer movement so much better. And this place here is just so flat, and what timber is there is literally just, it's a thicket. And I've always said, like, if a rabbit likes it, a deer likes it. But man, I can't even hardly get around in the woods right now. There, it's that thick.
Yep. What is a big track to you? I know a lot of guys are like, they'll measure them. I know guys in Michigan that'll measure them and they'll like log them. Like, this is how, like, after they kill a buck, they'll get them aged and then they'll measure their track. And then it's like, okay, so this deer's track was, 3 3/4. Like, have you ever measured a track, or do you just mean like, man, that's a big track? Like, you just know.
Man, as a general rule of thumb, I like to stick with something that's at least 5,000 acres continuous, but that's slowly changing because I'm losing my partials.
Well, as far as timber, I get that, but like I'm talking about a physical deer track, or were you talking about?
Oh,
were you talking about like acres?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
No, I have not, man. I have not actually measured the track, but I mean, when you see that big track, you know, when that dew claw's in the ground on some hard, solid ground, and like, I'm not just talking like you look for a couple tracks because a deer can slip or something and it makes his foot hoof look a little bigger. But if you follow that track and you look at every foot track or every hoof print, like, you get a pretty good idea. And I found 2 of those today in one field. I guess it could have been the same buck, but I was impressed with.
Yeah. Justin, you ever measured a track? Because I know you lived with deer for a long time. I mean, you've worked in high fence operations, breeding operations. You basically like studied deer. So have you ever measured a track, or is there a rule of thumb you go by?
Nothing really, specific or one little detail that I look for, but it's just one of those things, like when you see it, you're like, holy shit, that's
right.
That's the one. But there's what's always like blowing my mind is how there's nothing to tie them to any other sign. Like it doesn't always mean like a big rub is a big deer, but a big track is a big deer. There's nothing else that substantiates that piece of sign like a track.
Right.
You don't always know how big his rack is, but you can guarantee you that he's older because he's got some weight on him.
Yeah, and like I've always read like a lot of guys will compare it to like a rifle cartridge. Like if it's as long as like a 270 cartridge, it's not so much the width, it's the length of the hoof from what I've read.
Yep.
And I mean, in my experience, it's kind of held true. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going. I cut you off there.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it has a lot to do. Like Josh said, if it's hard ground and you can tell it hasn't rained, or you know what I mean. But if
it's not like mud or wet, yeah.
Right. If it's, I'm not gonna put a lot of merit in a hoof or in a print that looks, giant at a riverbank crossing. It's like, okay, he probably slid 4 inches into it, but if he's on a ridge walking through an oak flat and you can put your hand down there and it fits between your thumb and the tip of your index finger, that's a good track.
Agree.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that I know of, not buddies with, but in Michigan, they kill a buck, they'll get it aged, and they'll measure it. And they're like, okay, so if this buck was 4 years old, they'll get like a rough estimate of, every deer is different. It's not like, you could have 2 guys that are 34 years old and one wears a 15 size shoe and the other one wears a 9. It's just like, I think they're a lot like humans. So it's, but you try to get that general idea. But I agree, and the reason why I think about this and ask you is because one of my really good buddies killed 2 great Michigan bucks a couple years ago. One went 144, the other one went 138. Killed them both with his bow. We figured they were at least 3 and 4 years old, at least 3 years old. He got the teeth back, and they're both 2.5 years old. So it's like, just stud 2.5-year-old deer. And we were talking about the bigger of the deer. He had pictures of that deer the year before, and he was like 100 to 115 inch deer as a 1.5 years old. So, he was born and was probably, let's just say, maybe a 4, 5, or 6 point the first year, his first fall, or a spike, or a button buck. And then he jumped to 100-inch deer at least. It's like, holy shit. And then he jumps another 40 inches or so. It's like, wow, like, what? It's like, in Michigan, for one thing, is like, are we judging these deer totally wrong? Because you go out west, I've hunted a lot in Illinois and Kansas and Iowa, and I know you guys have as well. But like, you have those comparisons. Like, you have a deer come by, you just know he's like, okay, that deer is like 2 or 3 years old. You just know, you can tell. You've seen a lot of them. But then you have a mature buck come by, and it's like, fuck, he's a mature deer. Like, big thick neck. He's got, sway back. You could just tell. So here, 2 and 3 year old deer, you don't see a lot of 4 or 5 year old deer around here. So I just find it interesting. After he got those teeth back, I'm like, holy shit! Like, I mean, what are we killing around here? There is potential here.
Yep. You guys just have too many hunters per square mile, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing for sure. But I just I'll ask you guys, both you guys, if you have a buck that comes by, let's say he's 140, it'd be hard to pass that deer up. I'm not gonna lie, even if and you get him on the ground and he's 2.5, you're like, oh well, shit, probably should have let him go. But any Michigan hunter, I'm not gonna lie, any Michigan hunter is not gonna pass that 144-inch deer up.
Yeah, I wouldn't either in New York. Like, if I was hunting places I used to hunt when I grew up, like, I mean, I've never even seen a 140 where I hunted in New York.
Right.
Because it's just one of those things. It's not that, like, if I don't shoot him, the neighbor will mentality. I don't think it's that. It's just there's so many people that hunt, and all they want to do is go out and be successful. They don't care if it's a 140 or a 120.
Yo, and that's a good buck, though. I mean, you're not thinking, You're not like, oh, if I let this thing go, the neighbor's going to kill it. You're thinking, that's one of the bigger deer I'll ever have an opportunity at. Like, I'm going to kill that deer. I mean, that's the way I guess I look at it. Yeah.
And I'll tell you the truth right now, like, I wouldn't pass a 140 in Iowa either. If I was on public land and a 140 walks by me, I'm probably shooting it.
You and just about everybody out there.
Well, I'm not invested into property out here. Like, I don't have a relationship with deer on a year-to-year basis. I'm lucky if I find a 1,000-acre piece of public land that's, continuous that I can actually roam around on or try to figure out, let alone look for the one biggest deer on the whole thing, So Right. It's like I'm just there to hunt. Like, I'm hunting Iowa, Wisconsin, I'm hunting multiple states, and it's not like I am waiting for the one.
Right.
I'm waiting for one that walks by in range.
Josh, what's your criteria going out of state? Because you're a public land guy. I mean, even if you were private land, like if you're going, you're close to Illinois and Ohio, like if you're going out of state, what's your criteria if you're going on like a 6-7 day hunt maybe?
Oh, I'll shoot on a heartbeat, baby.
I like that.
You don't want to get my blood pumping because something's going to die.
Yep.
No, I've changed as I've got older. I used to be cocky and arrogant, but man, anymore, you need to set your own goals and you need to shoot whatever you want to. And it doesn't, because all jokes aside, like, nobody really cares what you shoot. Like, I don't care what you shoot. You don't care what I shoot. Like, just shoot what makes you happy.
Yep.
And, typically across the board, I want that solid 3-year-old. But, I'm not going to say that I haven't shot a 2.5-year-old. I got a feeling there's probably at least one deer on my wall that's Pope and Young as a 2.5-year-old. But I really don't have anything, man. If it gets me jacked, like, I'm probably going to let one fly.
I love it. That's the same way, man. I just wish everybody else would be like that.
I had this one year, I think it was 16 or 17. It may have been 16. I got hung up on this one deer, which is a horrible thing to do when you don't have time or the property. And I let like this right around a 130 walk because I just seen a 170 like 30 minutes before. So I let this 130 walk, and I was like, no big deal. I want to kill this big deer. Well, 3 days later, here come that 130 again, and I was all jacked up. I knew it was him, and he's on my wall.
That a boy. That's awesome. Yeah, that's the telling factor there for me. I mean, if you're excited and he's the one you want, you you indulge. You go to full draw. Let it eat.
Yep.
You know? And I can't imagine, too, like, how many years you been shooting trad now?
Since 17.
17? Okay, so,
yeah.
I mean, you're still pretty new into the trad game, you know?
Very
so
new.
it's like, does that have a deciding factor in it, too?
It never did. Nothing ever changed for me. When I went into it with confidence. The guy that kind of coached me through this is from down south, and he told me I was getting myself into a big rabbit hole, but it literally was like staying confident with the bow, and it was a mental thing. So that's how I went into it, and I was like, nothing's going to change for me. All these deer I'm killing are close, right around 20 yards, and at that time, I think I'd killed 4 or 5 Pope and Youngs in a row. And, every year I'd killed one. So I was like, might as well switch to trad. And, no, nothing changed, man. I've let some nice deer walk with that bow. Actually, last year I had a guy filming me, Connor Wakefield, and we had just a solid 2-year-old come by. And he was like, bro, there's no way I could have ever done that on this piece of public with that bow that you got in your hand.
Oh,
we're talking,
man.
125-inch deer, roughly. I was like, just wasn't what I was looking for. Nothing wrong. I mean, if somebody else wanted to shoot it, it wouldn't have bothered me at all.
Yep.
It's funny because, like, the public land thing, like, it's in right now. Like, it's the trend and it's cool. But I've just been doing it for so long. This will be my 14th or 15th season hunting public land. Like, I really don't care. Like, I'm not in it for that.
Yep. What back then when you changed from private to public, what made you want to go public? Was it just the challenge, or was it like, I'm losing a private piece and I had nowhere to go?
So I turkey hunted this big piece of public. Well, I say big. It was like 5,500 acres, bow only. And I shot some turkeys there with my bow, and I'd never deer hunted it. And I had this small parcel, like 60 acres. I called it Little Iowa. And it was just stacked with bucks. And I drove out there one day, and the landowner was waiting on me, and he kind of like started hopping on me. He's like, Josh, I told you, when it's raining, you can't drive back here. I was like, I don't drive back here when it's raining. I was like, those aren't my tracks, but I know whose they are. I had a guy out there that had been stealing the SD cards out of my cameras, and he was acting like he leased the adjoining farm when he didn't. And I just so happened to run into him like 2 weeks before, and he told me that he had drove out there at night and illegally spotlighted deer. Not to kill anything, but just to look, which is still illegal in Kentucky. And so I told him, I was like, this is the guy that's doing it. And I said, I got pictures of him on your property stealing cards out of my cameras, because those old school Bushnell trophy cams, when you took the SD card out of them, they still had an internal memory. So I got pictures of him. I no sooner than got that out of my mouth, the guy pulled up. Make a long story short, that guy spit in my face, and I was like, I'm just done with it. And I think it was like the next week, I went and hunted that piece of public. I still, to this day, that day, my very first day of deer hunting, I seen the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life from the deer stand. Upper 170s.
Wow. That's a stud. That's a stud anywhere on any piece of property.
Thanksgiving Day. And then I went back. The next time I went, I seen, I can't remember. It was like a couple 2-year-olds that were, in the 120s and a bunch of does. And then my third set was like a 140 and a bunch of does. And I was like, man, like I've been missing out. Like I don't even see these kind of deer on private property. And then so I just kind of slowly made the trend, and now here I am.
You talk about public land being like the in thing right now. I think, and Justin, I've talked about a little bit before, but I think trad's the next one. Trad's going to be like the next big swing. And then honestly, I think that and like going no camo, like guys with like flannel again or khaki, like the no camo thing, I think is going to come back.
Well, I can tell you one thing: the whole trad thing won't last long.
No, I don't think so.
No, it won't. It won't. It will not, because I still, going into 3-4 years down the road, have a hard time getting my arrows to fly good.
Yep.
In my opinion, it won't happen now. I think it's good that people want to try, and they do, and they need to stick with it. But for as far as being cool, it's just, I don't think it'll be for everyone.
And you should
saddle hunting is where it's at.
Well, yeah, I forgot
Everybody
about
hops
saddle
on the
hunting.
saddle.
Yep, saddle hunting. Yeah, I hunted out of a saddle for like 3 years back when nobody it was not that cool. Like, I never even heard of it, but the only reason why I heard of it is because John Eberhardt lives in my hometown, and I bought my saddle from him, and so that's how I got into it. And I religiously for about 2 seasons hunted out of a saddle. It was comfortable, but it was just different. I don't know if I gave it enough time, but I struggled out of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I get the pros to it and everything, but I just I hunted out of a hang-on for so long that I just wanted a hang-on. I just felt more comfortable with a hang-on, and I guess that's where I'm at now. But you're right. I mean, saddle hunting, everybody's latched onto that right now.
Yeah, it'll dwindle off as soon as the next coolest, lightest stand comes out.
Yeah.
It'll fade away.
Yep. You talk about trad though, like for like a guy wanting to get into trad, what is a good setup? Like a good, like, not break the bank, but like what are the specs? Because I remember last time you and I were kind of bullshitting. I think it was on the last podcast we did. I was telling you about a recurve that I have, and you're like, oh, that's a bad one to start on because of like how many pounds it was and how long it was. Like, what's a good setup to be effective with?
Well, you gotta think you have zero. When you pull that thing back, you got it. There's no break over, there's no anything. And for somebody starting out, I'm gonna say 40 to 50 pounds. Like for an average guy, I'm gonna say 45 pounds. And Shimmick makes a bow that's just a few $100s. It's nice. You can get on eBay and find some. I would buy something used because you don't ever know if you're gonna like it.
Right.
And it's tough, man. It really is. It really is tough. Just trying to, get your arrows to fly good. I still struggle with that. But I'd say your average bow, for just starting out, you can probably get in around $300. I would buy one used. I would look at eBay, and I would definitely not go over 50 pounds.
I got you. What about length? Does that matter?
Well, yeah, it does. A longer bow is definitely easier to shoot, and it's definitely more forgiving. So I would stick away from anything shorter than 58 inches. Like, both of my bows are 60 inches.
Gotcha. So a 60 inches, what does that equate to, like, with a compound? Is that like a 34-inch axle-to-axle compound?
I really don't know. I'm going to say it's more like 38.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know how all those competition archers shoot. I mean, they shoot the long riser bows. I've never personally shot a shorter bow like a 55, but everybody that I've talked to just tells me, like, hey, man, like, I'm just telling you, like, you need to stay away from them.
Yep. I gotcha. It's something that I've been wanting to dabble in. I talked to you about it 2 years ago. I've been wanting to do it, and Justin, you were talking about it too, weren't you? You wanted to get into the old trad game, didn't you?
I don't know. I say a lot of things. I probably did at one point. I don't know. It would be fun to mess around and dabble with, but I'm kind of in that phase where it's like I'm applying for 6 to 10 tags a year, and I just want to hunt as much as possible. I don't want to make it any harder than it has to be right now. So,
right.
I might evolve into it, but it won't be anytime soon.
When you get into it, like, I went all in. Like, everybody made fun of me. Like, all of my close friends are like, man, you're gonna gimp something up. And I know my time's coming, but everything I've pulled back on has died. And I mean, it just I've been fortunate, but everybody made fun of me and was like, you're going to go back to the compound. As soon as you wound one, and I do know my time's coming, but I sold my compound as soon as I bought my first recurve. There was no turning back. And, going this far in, like, I just really don't see it any other way. I mean, you got guys like Aaron Snyder that can shoot 40 or 50 yards with one easy.
He is deadly, man. That guy is a deadly shot with a recurve.
He pisses excellence.
Yes, he does.
So, it's all, if you want to put the time in it, I mean, it's very effective. But that's what it takes is time, and it's a big rabbit hole. And when you don't have anybody there to coach you, and you're literally like trying to figure out, how you lower your brace height, how you bring your arrow to the left or right, or because you want your arrow to hit where you're looking at. Like, when you try to like figure all that out on your own, man, it's tough.
I feel like you almost have to sell everything compound and go trad. If you're doing it, you got to dive in. I could not do that. If I'm going to go trad, it'd be me like dabbling in the backyard until I feel comfortable. And then like, okay, I'm going to go try to shoot a doe with it first. Like, I could not just sell all my compound stuff. It'd just be so hard for me to do that. But I feel like and guys I'm sure have done it without selling all their crap. But to be effective, like a guy like me, I would have to sell everything and just totally get sick with just trad. You just have to relearn something.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, how I had to do it. But it really does change you. Or let me say that it changed me. Like, everything slowed down for me when I grabbed that bow. Like, I looked at things different. I started hunting different. My woodsmanship, it definitely picked up. Now, there were no more 50, 60-yard bombs or even thinking about it. There was no more hunting field edges, which I never done very much anyways, but it's just so humbling, man. And it pulls your inner woodsmanship out of you. It's just, when you grab that bow, I mean, my wood bow, it's with arrows and all weighs about 1 pound, 6 ounces.
Really?
It feels like a piece of popcorn in your hand.
Is that with the quiver and everything?
It's with everything.
Wow.
I will admit, Aaron, that I do have one. I've
you have
never
a
shot it. No, I've actually got a handmade stick bow. One of my professors in college, he made his own bows, and he would give these classes once a year. Just like, 6-pack, come meet me at the outdoor or the outside classroom, whatever, on campus, and he would sit there and bring all his tools and show you how to make bows. And regrettably, I never did that, but a buddy of mine who's now the big cat biologist for the state of Wyoming did, and he sent me one a few years ago, handcrafted out of Osage with antelope tips for the string keepers. I don't even know what they're called, but the tips of the antelope horn are what's on both ends of the bow.
I got you.
What he's got notched out to keep the string on.
You've never shot it? Are you not intending to shoot it at all, or just one of those keepsake things?
It's more of a keepsake, kind of a cool piece to look at, and I don't know. It's got a handmade string. It's got like the beaver balls for the silencers, and
I like beaver balls.
It's just a nice, yeah.
Beaver balls are nice.
Gotta love beaver balls.
Jesus, that's cool though. I mean, I've got a fiberglass, a bear. I don't even know what it is. It's down here in the basement somewhere. But I remember I told you it's like a 62-pound bow. Like, you have to be a man and a half to pull that back. Like, you got to have hair in places that you don't normally get hair to pull that fucker back. Yeah. I can't even string the damn thing. Like, I'm just a pussy when it comes to stringing it. And I'm like, I feel like it's going to blow up on me. And I'm like, I don't even deal with it. I'm just like, it's an old one. So I need to get something different.
So my carbon bow is 61 pounds at 28 inches, and I don't have any problem stringing it.
Well, you're a bigger dude than me, though.
I'm joking. I'm just messing with
that.
you.
I'm 5'10", 180 pounds soaking wet. So, and I've got, I mean, it is twisted steel and sex appeal, but I can't string the goddamn thing.
Yeah, I don't ever take my string off. I had to take it off the other day to add some more brace height to it to bring my arrow around, but I don't ever unstring mine now. It sucks.
Really?
Especially if you don't have a stringer. I can't do it without a stringer. I'm always scared I'm gonna twist the limb, so I always use a stringer. And it's that 61-pound bow I got. It's still a beast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's, like I said, you gotta have hair in places that hair isn't supposed to be to freaking man that thing. But but what's your plans going this fall? Are you just staying in Kentucky, or are you going out of state?
So I already have my Indiana license, which I'm 4 miles and I'm in Indiana. So I got public ground close over there. I'm gonna stay here at home unless I kill something. Now, if I stay furloughed like I am, like some stuff's gonna die. Hopefully I end up in Indiana. But I can't say that for sure, But just here, I have 4 points for Iowa. I'm sorry, I have 5 points for Iowa.
Why are you not drawing Iowa?
I have 1 point for Kansas. I'm waiting to go. Do you know who Nathan Killen is?
Nathan Killen? No, I don't.
Man, you need to do a podcast with him. He's a super good Christian guy, and he has killed big deer where they don't exist.
Is he from Iowa?
No, he's from Virginia.
Okay. All right.
But I'm waiting for him to go. That way I don't have to spend 2 weeks there by myself.
Gotcha.
But that's the only reason.
I gotcha. You have 1 point for Kansas, so you're not. Speaking of that, I mean, we're recording today on the 21st. This is going to drop next Tuesday, but today the drawing results for Kansas are in. Justin, I don't know if you've checked yours or not. I checked mine and it still says pending, it says entered. But I have a couple buddies that they did draw their archery tags, so I don't know if I've drawn or not yet. But so Josh, you didn't put in for this year. You just put in for a point.
Yeah, I'm Chad from Exodus. My buddies at Exodus mentioned something about going here in a year or two, and they just bought a point, so I just bought a point to be safe. But man, the way my work is, it's so hectic right now, and it's weird times, man. We're recording this during some funky times.
Oh.
Like I can't even tell you if I'm going to get a vacation to hunt this year at all.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I may have 6 points for Iowa next year and not even be able to go.
Yep.
So it's just to say the least, I'm just going to be here. That's where I'm going to be at. I'm going to be at home.
Man, and I know Justin can attest to this. I mean, he lives there, but I did Iowa last year for the first time ever. I drew with 3 points going to 4, and when you draw, just have as much time to be able to dedicate to Iowa as you can. If it's 7 days, then do 7 days. But if you can do longer, do it, because man, oh man, have you ever hunted Iowa before?
I have not, no.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, man, it is a different world. Iowa is a different world Iowa really should be like its own, like, U.S. It should be its own continent, basically, when it comes to deer hunting. And I know all the Iowans that are listening to this right now that are hunters are just mother scratching me up and down because they don't want people, non-residents to come in there. But I'm telling you, I'm sorry. You can't be mad at me. You just have the deer. You have the biggest deer out there. So all I can say is just dedicate as much time as you can to that season in Iowa that you can.
Oh yeah. When I do go, I do plan to at least be there for 2 weeks.
I would definitely
make it the first 2 weeks of November.
I agree.
Yeah, that would probably be the plan, and I would say I'm going to say it's going to be safe to say that I will be there in probably February this year scouting. I'd say I will.
Well, I know a guy that lives out there that could probably point you in a little bit of a right direction for some public.
Yeah, I may be hitting him up when we get off the phone.
I don't have it all figured out, but I've seen a lot of it. It's in southern Iowa. I've checked out a lot of it and walked a bunch of it.
He knows his shit, man. He knows his shit.
Good.
I'll attest to that. Like Justin knows what he's doing. So, and it's not just Iowa. Wherever he goes, he seems like he kills somewhere. So,
well, I hope it. I don't know. I appreciate you saying that. I hope I do that justice this year. I've got more deer tags in my pocket this year than I ever have.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you and I talked about it today, though. 2020. I mean, everybody knows it's just it can piss off. To be honest with you, I mean, we got a pandemic right now. I've been at home. Everybody's been quarantined. States are just starting to open up, but like our studio in Midland, Michigan, is underwater right now. Basically, there's 36 foot of water. 2 dams broke, and the city of Midland, where our studio is it's only 30 miles from me. There is 11,000 people that had to evacuate in hours in one night, and nobody was killed. Nobody was like severely injured, which is good. But I mean, it's a bad deal right now. Bad deal. I mean, for here anyway. But I know everybody's dealing with stuff, and it's like, it's all the politics going on and this pandemic. It's just, I'm just ready for it to be over. Like, just done with it.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah. Ready for it to be the fall.
Yeah. Let's just skip to August.
Yep.
Velvet scouting for bucks and mule deer hunting, and
I can't wait to scout for bucks and bean fields and glassing them up in the spotter and filming them. I love that. Probably my favorite time. Love doing that.
Yeah.
It's time to start. I started. If I started, everybody else can start.
I know it. You can start hunting September 1, can't you?
First weekend of September, I'll be in the tree.
That's nice. Even though it's hotter than the hinges of Haiti out there.
Man, it doesn't matter. It's something about those summer months, man. It's like even when the temperatures rise, like your temperature and you rises, like your blood just starts boiling. And you're like, oh yeah, like it's getting close.
For sure. You were talking about Indiana. Have you only hunted southern Indiana, or if you went farther north at all in Indiana?
No, I've only hunted southern Indiana, and it's straight up kicked my ass.
That's how Ohio is with me.
I'm not trying to come off and sound cocky in any way, because I've killed, several nice deer on public land. Like, I've had it handed to me over in Indiana. I'm getting it handed to me right now. And I have spent a little bit of time in Indiana. It's been tough, man. It really has.
Yeah.
I've mainly only hunted big woods, and that big wood setting, man, it's a different animal. It's a lot different than this ag stuff I like to hunt,
Yeah, definitely. And you're a big rolling timber guy, so I don't know what southern Indiana is. That pretty hilly down there, or is it pretty flat?
So it's the same. It's pretty much the same topography, but the places I hunt, there's awesome hills. It's hill country, but either on top of the hills or in the valleys, you're going to have ag, or food plots. And so it makes for just killer public land hunting. And then, when I bounce across the river, I won't lie, when I hop over to the Hoosier and it's 200,000 acres and that there is none of that, and the deer per square mile drop in half, like, man, there's some giants over there, but it's some tough hunting.
200,000 acres is a lot of land.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Like, you just get on the road and everything you see and drive on, you can hunt.
For hours. You could probably drive for hours and it'd just be public.
Just different counties. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. But for me, it's been tough,
That's nuts. That's crazy. So you're gonna stay around Kentucky, but you're probably gonna jump up to Indiana this year. You're gonna do Ohio at all?
No, I got buddies in Ohio, but man, I don't know. If I do Ohio, it'll be with Chad from Exodus, and it'll be big woods hunting. It'll be national forest hunting. But I doubt I will. If I go back to work like I'm supposed to in August, like I doubt I'll get a vacation. So you're looking at, me only doing a handful of sets, the rest of the year.
Yep. Well, hopefully EHD doesn't hit you again, and hopefully the herd rebounds a little bit, better. And I don't know. I'll be interested. I should have you come on in a couple weeks just to see after your first or second trail cam pull, just to see what's there. Maybe August, get you back on, or September or something, and just see what the hell came back, and maybe see if that rebounded or whatnot.
I'll have cameras up on that place by August. Probably no more than 5, but this new piece, I have 3 out on it. They're all on mineral. I actually put a cell camera out today, and it's going off while we're talking. I haven't looked at it, but it's taking pictures, so I don't know what's on it. So I'm curious, man. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. I'm kind of going into something I'm not used to. This scrubby flat ground, these river bottoms make me a little nervous, but I'm always up for a challenge.
For sure, man. For sure. Well, cool. I'm gonna cut you loose here, man. We're at an hour, and I appreciate you coming on and doing this. And don't want to take any more of your time up, because I know you got a lot to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I love shooting it with you guys, and I'd love to be back on here in August. Maybe we can talk some more tactics or something.
Let's do it. Let's schedule it, because I know our first episode we did was in September of, I think it was 17. Let's do another August-September episode, and let's schedule it right now and put it in the books, and we'll do it up, man.
Okay, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.